Welcome to the most listened to golf in the world, the Fairways of Life show, on air, online, and around the world, with the most candid interviews, unforgettable stories, taking you beyond the ropes. Here's your host, New York Times best-selling author, Matt Adams.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome into the program on this Monday. Hope you guys are doing well. Well, Team USA got it done at the President's Cup. Did you have any doubt? Was there a time when you doubted that the results of the weekend would be secure in the case of the United States? And I'm asking that question for a specific reason, because after the USA started, look at that score, 18.5, 11.5. It's the best record for Team USA in an away President's Cup when it was all said and done. But when Team USA went out 5-0 in the opening session, right? What were your emotions? Did you not think, yawn, glad they started this on a Thursday because by Saturday and Sunday I'll be immersed in college football and the NFL? Or start of the NHL or baseball, getting ready for the end of the season, everything, blah, blah, blah. Right? What I'm saying is you had the clicker, you had the remote in your hand. But then the international team comes back and matches them 5-0 in the next session. And I don't know about you guys, but I was like, here we go. Now this is getting interesting. From there, Team USA amassed 6 points to 2 before we got into Sunday singles. I'm going to bring Dom in here because I have a feeling he's going to do a question of the day that's built around the President's Cup. Maybe some of these concepts I'm already raising. Do you have one, Dom? Have you already put a question up for today?
I did put a question up for today.
And
Today's
what
question is, does there need to be a change for the President's Cup to become more competitive? Yes or no?
And what's the result that you're getting from that?
I just asked the question. You got to give me. We've been on the air for 90 seconds.
Well, I don't know if you put them on before. I don't know if you put them on during. I don't know if you react to what we're talking about. I'm not sure how.
No, this just happened. I mean, give me a half hour. I'll have an answer for you.
All right. So I just thought it was really interesting from that perspective that, and it was kind of funny too, kind of measuring the social media reaction. When Team USA went out 5-0, there was a lot of negative social media reaction. Like, oh, boy, here we go. Isn't this great? Blah, blah, blah. And then the internationals come back, and it's 5-5. And, you know, you've got the chirping going on. You got the whole thing with Tom Kim. They walked away while Scotty Scheffler was making his putt. And, you know, Kiz had the conversation with Camilo Villegas and all the rest. And I'm kind of laughing at it, to tell you the truth. I have to be honest with you that it's funny because, and we'll get notes from people coming in going, you know, Matty, golf's a gentleman's game. There's a decorum that should be adhered to, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, all the sports that I just described to you coming in, none of them were worried about one player, you know, having a side comment to another player or all these areas of decorum. And then, again, someone's going to write and say, well, that's what makes golf different. I agree, except that when you're in a team competition, things change and emotions get heated. Camilo Villegas actually took those players away to try to de-emphasize the growing emotions that maybe have surrounded it. But I look at it, and to me, it's kind of a shrug of the shoulders, a roll of the eyes. Like, who cares? It's really not that big a deal. What you want is you want the emotions. You want them to be engaged. You want Tom Kim to no longer be a little brother, to step up and say, yeah, this is it. It's time. I loved some of his comments that he made afterwards where he said sooner or later, luck changes. And then we get to singles. And again, I'm asking this question, and I realize that those that would be ardent in saying, no, Team USA was always destined to win. It was always going to happen. It's easier to say that when you're looking back from a a historic measure of win, because look at it, if you guys are with us on the television side, 18.5 to 11.5. Sunday singles, you could see the results were, I mean, the so-called front end loading, where you get your best players and you load them up there strong. Xander Schauffele went out 4-3 against Jason Day. Sam Burns and Tom Kim, which I know everybody was hoping for Scotty Scheffler and Tom Kim, but then they forget the backstory that Tom Kim and Scotty Scheffler are actually best friends. But Sam Burns and Tom Kim end up tied. I thought it was an entertaining match. I thought Sam Burns, you guys know I'm a fan of Sam Burns. And I liked him on these teams. And after the last Ryder Cup, everyone was like, Sam Burns. He's on there because he's Scotty's friend. Can't get it done. He's the only one. Had best record on Team USA. So he tied with Tom Kim. Hideki Matsuyama took down Scotty Scheffler, and you're like, wow, is there life here? But when you look at it in the flow and ebb, that only put him to a point where they hadn't gained any ground at all. Then they ran into the sledgehammer of Russell Henley, Patrick Cantlay, ultimately Keegan Bradley, even though it didn't go in this sequence because of the way how deep the matches went, especially one that mattered for Keegan Bradley because he had that winning putt, the securing putt, I should say, right? Corey takes down Tony 5-3, but I thought Tony did pretty well. Wyndham Clark ties. Sahith ties. Colin Morikawa wins. Brian Harman lost. Max Homa won. Max Homa said later on, I know there was a lot of people that through social media said I shouldn't be here, but that's kind of with Max Homa. We live by the sword, die by the sword with social media. But he was like, there was a lot of people who said I shouldn't be here, but then when I got here, the people that matter said I should be, which I thought was an interesting kind of, when it comes to social media, especially when you engage with the people the way he does, which I happen to like, incidentally, but that's a choice that he made. But when you do that, you raise the weight of the collective opinion because you've engaged them. You're there with them. They're your people. And now that turned on him, at least in part, and it generally is the most negative that are the loudest voices in that forum. And that's when he said that comment, but I think it was to Cara Banks, if I'm not mistaken, where he's like, yeah. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, when he said that, there's a lot of people on social media that said I shouldn't be here. But when I got here, the people who matter, whose voices really matter, said I should be. So I thought that was just fascinating with the whole thing. And, he was partying hard. He was celebrating. Remember, because he was out last. He was the last one out on the golf course. So by the time he came back in, he was having his fill of it. And then there's Jim Furyk in the foreground of that picture. What does this mean for Jim Furyk? Right? Has the President's Cup become the fertile ground of reclamation of a captain's reputation after a Ryder Cup? Right? Look at Davis Love III. Look at here with Jim Furyk. Is it foregone that we're going to see Zach Johnson as a President's Cup captain? Because it's a place for them to raise a trophy and say, see, what I was doing right was right. And I don't know whether they even care about that. I'm not suggesting that they do, but there's a reason why these players are coming back around and being captain once again for Team USA. So here are the results. And you go all the way back to 1998 to where you find the sole win by the international team. That was at Royal Melbourne. And that was in Tiger Woods' rookie President's Cup, just to give you a sense of how long ago it was. There was the tie in 2003. But other than that, it's been Team USA for seemingly ever. All right, let's take a look at records for players in the President's Cup. And this is distinctive because it stands in contrast than if you did a same comparison on the Ryder Cup side. And having said that, in fairness, I repeat this to you often because it was told me with earnest intent from Davis Love III. He said, we're Team USA. We don't view it as President's Cup team, as Ryder Cup team. We view it as Team USA, which we'll get another overall records put together for you in that regard, too, in fairness. So we can do that comparison. I won't do it today, but I will do it. President's Cup individual records. Xander Schauffele in the President's Cup is cigar chomping 10-4. Patrick Cantlay is 10-4. Tony Finau 5-4-3. I know they love Tony on these teams, right? But for a Team USA that's absolutely dominating for as long as anyone can recall, to have a 5-4-3 record at the President's Cup is just okay in my view. Colin Morikawa at 6-2-0. Max Homa at 5-2-0. That kind of validates his position. Keegan Bradley 4-3-1. Sam Burns 3-3-3. Now remember, that's a great preview. He came in with a 0 in that first column, in the win column. Scotty Scheffler 3-5-1 just raises that question of what is it about when you have a player that has this ability to do incredible things individually. And I realize that it's a short body of work with Scotty Scheffler, notwithstanding in full respect for the season that he's had, but you need to do that multiple times before you're placed upon the mount. But nonetheless, a 3-5-1 record is not even okay. Russell Henley's 3-1. Sahith gets started at 1-1-1. Wyndham Clark at 1-2-1. And again, I say that it's early to make judgments about Wyndham Clark, but Wyndham Clark in team competition is something that I'm kind of like, okay, let's keep a close eye on it, even more so for Harman, who went 0-3-0. As for on the international side, you could see it is reflective of the fact that they've been on the downhill side of performance for a number of years. Adam Scott, who's starting to break records left and right and match in terms of tenure of play, not a good record. 20-28-6. Hideki Matsuyama, 9-13-5. Jason Day, 6-13-4. So, all these different questions that could individually have been questions of the day, too, in fairness, because they have that kind of weight. Is part of what the international team needs is the so-called young blood, the changing of the guard. There was that rallying cry for a long time with Team USA, at least on the Ryder Cup side. Sun J.M., 6-7-2. It's actually a good record. Siwoo Kim, 6-5-0. Please, that's awesome. Tom Kim, 3-5-1. These are not bad records, given the flow and ebb and not much of an ebb, frankly, of over the last decade plus. Christian Bezuidenhout, A+. Benny On, again, solid at 2-3-3. Corey Connors, 2-7. Taylor Pendrith, 2-7. Mackenzie Hughes, 1-3. Minwoo Lee got started at 0-1-1. All right, so that's the individual records there, too. Dom, let me touch base with you and see if you're hearing anything interesting back to the question posed, if you could remind.
Sure. Question is, does there need to be a change made of any kind for the President's Cup to make it more competitive? Yes or no? Very open-ended. And it's early in the voting, Matt. But right now it's at 76% are saying yes. There needs to be some sort of change. There needs to be some sort of an adjustment. Something must be done. The only comment I would have to that is
Yeah.
I can't think, and I was thinking about this prior to the show this morning, I can't think of another sport, especially a team sport, where the dominance is this consistent over this many periods of years, right? If you think of the NFL, you think of the NBA, you think of international soccer, you have dynasties, right? Quote unquote. You know, the Patriots, the Chiefs, whatever, the Lakers. There are periods of dominance in these sports for teams. But nobody is unbeaten for 20 years or whatever. It's something stupid. It's like 10 or 11. Isn't this the 10th win in a row? I think it's 10th win in a row for them. So that's like 2 decades. That's a lot. I can't think of that in any other sport. Even with individuals, Matt, you know, you take like tennis, Roger Federer, but it wasn't only just him. It was Djokovic, it was Nadal. So, I mean, I can't think of anything else that this is comparable to, Matt. Can you?
Yeah, and I'll be getting to that in just a little while. First of all, let's hear from the respective teams. The press conferences at President's Cup and certainly the Ryder Cup have become somewhat iconic for the fact that you've got teams together. They are in the case of the winning team, in this case, Team USA, they're in a celebratory mood. It's light. It's more than likely influenced by, we literally saw the picture that Max Homa put out there of him shotgunning. It looked like a 16-ouncer. So there is that color that goes with these press conferences, and it's just one more reason that these team events are different, and I'm okay with that. So here is Team USA individually responding to a number of different questions from the press.
The whole week's been so much fun. I've always enjoyed team events. I had the opportunity to play in a number of them. The camaraderie, the teamwork, bus rides, team room. Obviously the competition's amazing, but I just love hanging with the guys and being part of a big group and having a common bond and trying to come together to do something special. And so I guess first and foremost, our support staff from the PGA Tour, led by Matt Horton, amazing. We had 9 folks from the tour that were just, giving us all their time for the months and months and months leading up to this. They did a great job. I know every one of us would, want to really thank our wives and significant others for all the support. And it's a nervous week, man, and so to have them by your side really means a lot. Our caddies were flat amazing this week. So much fun. And really for me, my 4 assistants really stepped up. Stewart had a little experience as an assistant captain last year. The other 3 guys, this is their first time in that position, and they were absolutely amazing. The help, the information on the golf course when they had advice. I think just the communication with the players was incredible. I was blessed. And honestly, these 12, I'm so proud to be their captain. And they were, they were a captain's dream. These guys get along so well, but as you know, they can flat play. And they kicked a lot of ass out there. And when it got tough, anytime the internationals put some pressure on us, they played their asses off for us. And just so proud to be a part of it.
I told the boys last night it's been a decade. It's taken me a decade to get back into that room with these guys. And I really took for granted how special these weeks were. I watched a lot of these things on TV and was really sad to not be here. And, we talked about taking care of business today, and we all went out there and did it. I was just lucky enough to be in that spot in the day, but really a meaningful moment in my life. The last time I played in one of these, I was the clinching point for the Europeans in the Ryder Cup. So, fast forward 10 years later, and I got to do that today. Really something that I'll remember the rest of my life.
Yeah, it was an honor. I was having dinner last night, and Cap came up to me and asked if I'd be cool with going out first. And you look down this row of guys, and it could be any one of us that's going to lead the charge. And I took it as a special opportunity to do something great. And I wanted to get some red up on the board early for the boys to look at, and was able to do that today.
I learned a lot from Jim and Tabitha this week. It was the best job I've ever seen done as captain and the captain's wife. I learned a lot from them. I would love to join these guys and play next year. I don't know how that would ever be possible, but seeing what Jim did, seeing how nervous I was today to play, but I'm going to push that down the road. Like I've said, if I make the team on points, I'll consider playing, but outside of that, I won't do that because this is really important to me next year. I don't care about my personal gains of playing in the tournament. I only care about winning the Ryder Cup, and I think the best way to do that is to let these boys play and let them do what they do. But we'll see. I don't see it happening, but we'll see.
Tom Kim, after his match today, found you on the 18th green, and he said some words. Could you share what he shared with you? What he talked about?
Oh, I mean, it was in private. If he wants to reveal what he said, that's up to him. He just had a few words with Cap and I, and it was honestly in private. So if you'd like to ask him about what was said, that's on him to say because he's the one that came up to us. But I don't feel like it's on me or anyone up here to disclose what he said.
I think these weeks are a lot of fun. It's pretty rare that we get to play with these guys on my team. Usually every week of the year we're playing by ourselves, and so it's a lot of fun. This is one of the great joys of my career is coming out here in these team events and playing. And I had some great partners this week. Russell and I played great together, and Colin and I won a nice match there Saturday morning. And it was just one of those matches where I felt like I was letting my partner down early in the match, and he picked me up there on 6, gave me a nice little pep talk, and we were able to play some great golf. And I was just proud to earn a point for the team, and it felt like an important one at the time just to get a point late on Saturday. And I think Russ and I were just both really excited. I think we're both guys that usually keep a pretty even keel attitude on the golf course most weeks, and I think Russell's one of the most underrated players on our tour, and so it was fun to go out there and earn a point with him. And see,
Yeah, Scotty.
I think we just tried to vet it early. Again, these teams come together. I keep saying it so fast. I mean, by the time the team was chosen, we got 21 days to get ready. So trying to get pairings together and get ready to come in here is difficult. So I think we tried to get ahead of that. When the picks were made, kind of the pairings were already kind of in place. I vetted that with a lot of the players, with our assistants, with our statistical team. I tried to get that in place a little earlier than I did, say, back in 2018, and that way, if things didn't work or didn't gel, not from a personality standpoint, but maybe just seeing the golf course, we had some options. But these guys, like I said, they were so easy to work with, and the best 12 guys that I could have ever imagined. Could have paired them up a million different ways. I think that was the hardest part, to be honest with you, that they got along so well, the personalities gelled so well, so many good players on this team, 12 of them, that there was probably a million different ways we could have mixed and matched them, and that was probably the most difficult thing. And I haven't always had that in the past, to be honest with you. So that was probably my biggest concern was, are we doing the right thing? Are we playing the right guys? Because I could have done it a number of different ways.
I mean, like half a second, second and a half, I looked back and he was scampering down 9 fairway trying to run away from me. I think he left me a good 4 minutes before that. I don't blame him, but I mean, it was obviously on my mind the whole week. I basically had three check marks this week. One was to win the President's Cup with these boys, 2 was to have a great time, and 3 to get kids to take a shirt off. So I went 3 for 3.
Anyone can answer this. What are the party plans for the evening?
Kids, no.
Tony P now. Where you be now?
In the wise words of Travis Kelce, you gotta fight for your right to party. Only time will tell.
Is that a timing thing, or if I'm not mistaken, isn't that the Beastie Boys? And anyway, so Team USA is excited. They're fighting for the right to party, and they've earned that right with the victory at the President's Cup. On the international side, clearly there are wounds to be licked there. We're going to get to that when we come back. The Fairways of Life show is presented by the PGA Tour Superstore. They are the #1 golf retailer from coast to coast. There are many reasons that they are #1, and they're big, beautiful stores that they can continue to expand and open from across the country are a large part of that reason. I think it's also because you're shopping with pros. And what that means is that, look, you could buy golf equipment in a lot of different places, and there's certainly big box sporting goods stores that sell golf equipment. But they don't have professionals selling you golf equipment. Do you really want to buy something from someone who doesn't know and probably knows less about it than you do? You want to make sure you're working with somebody that is vested in your best interests, and that's exactly what you get at the PGA Tour Superstore.
I got ball fit in 2000, went on a little run. Then Bridgestone fit me again, and I went on another run. I just got fit again for the new Tour BX. The ball fitting's been helping me. Will it help you?
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together, hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.
I think when you're training for other sports, or why most people go to the gym is so that they can have muscles and be strong and be healthy. And a lot of the reason why they struggle to play golf is their body doesn't move properly for them to be able to hit a golf ball. And when you're training for golf, it's a little bit different because you're focused more on flexibility and mobility and being strong in motion. When you're able to kind of have a warm up and have a workout routine and kind of gradually build up to where you're training your body to move properly, yeah, you're going to get a lot of big dividends on the golf course.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
Super easy to hit. Introducing the new PXG Black Ops irons, our first game improvement iron.
It's a larger face heel to toe.
It launches the ball high in the air and really far.
Much higher levels of forgiveness. You set that club down, creates a lot of confidence. It's supported by this X-Core column material.
And that's where you get improved ball speed. If you're looking for distance, forgiveness, and feel, Black Ops iron is going to be for you.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Stride by Zero Friction, the first of its kind personal caddy. Walk in comfort and style with Stride's remote and follow me technology. The Stride handles almost any terrain, and its 54-hole range will last all day. The lightweight design and removable front wheels makes it simple to handle. Plus, it easily fits golf carts. Pick up your Stride today at a local PGA Tour Superstore near you or at zerofriction.com/Stride. Stride, your personal caddy.
Welcome back to the Fairways of Life show. Pleasure to have your company on this Monday. Our thoughts, of course, are with everyone that was impacted by the hurricane. Hurricane Helene ripping up the west side of Florida through the Gulf and then smashed into the Panhandle. It actually turned a little bit east as it was making landfall, and that's the reason why it hit the western half of the Carolinas, Asheville, and the historic flooding and the loss of life, massive amount of damage. These storms are incredible, and it's certainly frightening the way that they gain force and power so very, very quickly. And it sounds like it's something that we're going to be dealing with for some time, not only in this instance, but in the development of these storms as we move forward. They say there's a couple more churning out there. So keep a close eye on it. And again, our thoughts are with everyone that was impacted by how horrible this absolutely was. So we're taking a look at what took place in the President's Cup over the past week. Dom asked a question today, does anything need to change the President's Cup? And predominantly the voting coming back in was 3-1 as yet. That's people feel that changes should be made. The international team was the recipient of an 18.5 to an 11.5 loss. It was the largest USA victory on the road at the President's Cup, even though Royal Montreal wasn't much of being on the road, because in terms of proximity it was fairly close. But I thought it was a great venue. I think the story that they had with having a Canadian captain and multiple Canadians on the team, unfortunately, just didn't pan out into something of substance. Again, there was hope. I went through it with you from a chronological standpoint, where Team USA jumps out 5-0, and everyone thought, "Oh, here we go. So what are we going to watch, for the rest of the weekend?" And then the international team came charging back with the exact same day record as USA in the first session, 5-0. And I was excited. I thought, now we got a real race going on here. And I don't know about you guys. I wanted both teams to play absolutely the best that they were capable of playing. And I know that never happens in those competitions because the amount of pressure and all the rest, I get it. But you can always hope, and that's what I was hoping for. Well, ultimately, it didn't turn out that way. And so for the international team, what do you take away from it? I mean, is this about judging mistakes that were made, things that could have been done differently? Is this about judging that for some reason the international side just doesn't have the firepower to keep up with Team USA? Let's find out from the international side what their perspective is in the wake of this loss.
I'd say just sitting here as a competitor, it's tough. We all feel, it's tough to take. It just happened, right? And it's a little bit raw. And I'll start there, but I just love these guys. I love their fight. What I saw out there today all week, from the get-go, is they battled right to the end. That's all you can ask us from the captain is or what I asked them to do, and they responded and did that. And it was just a special week, special bonding with all of us guys, all the families. That's what makes the week really special. So those are some of my key thoughts, I guess, as I get started here. And it was just a high. I guess the other thing is just super high level of play. I think on both teams it was really high level golf, lots of birdies, lots of big momentum swings, and really exciting golf as a golf fan to watch, which I'm a golf fan. It was really great golf to watch.
Like I said earlier in the week, I had a great feeling for this team coming in, and I felt like there's been an evolution under this shield the last 2 cups, 4 or 5 years of that, and buy-in from all the international players. It's something that they aspire to play for. And I felt we had a great trip up here. The personalities were great. I think you saw that under the heat of competition this week from some of these guys. Maybe some unexpected personalities out on the golf course, some expected as well. But the result, unfortunately, is the same. I mean, with a deep dive, I think there are positives always to see, and hopefully this competition inspires all of us sitting up here to play really hard, go on with our careers the next 2 years, win big events, and come back better prepared and ready to win in Chicago.
Just about my comments yesterday, I just told him, like, hey, I didn't mean it to go in such a negative way. If it did, I just said I'm sorry. I felt like what I heard yesterday, some comments that I've heard was, at that time, just coming off the green, it came to me so personally, and just I felt like it was right to share. But definitely, I didn't really at that time. Just didn't think it'd be so negative, and I really didn't mean to, because when I played with Patrick and Xander, obviously we've battled a few times, and they've always been such great competitors. I've always felt like there was such a good, sportsmanship between us. It was just outside the ropes, and I felt like that was a little misunderstanding on my part, which I should explain better. So I went to him and I said, I didn't mean it that way. I apologize if it came out wrongly. It was just, this and this happened. But if it affected you guys so negatively, I really do apologize. I didn't mean to do it in that way. And because this event is all about, doing things you would never do, and creating energy and doing all these things. And, if I do certain things on the greens when I make putts, and I expect them to do the same thing. It's all part of the game. So it was just about that.
Did you have that in the back?
All right, so Tom Kim addressing the media, particularly about the fact that he said he was sworn at by some players. And even that, I like Tom Kim a lot. And when they had the whole conversation about, Tom Kim said he heard some players swearing, so what? And I'm not criticizing Tom Kim. It's the opposite. I'm actually supporting Tom Kim, saying it's a competition. It's a heated competition. People are going to grumble. People are going to complain. People, like he did, that he didn't get given a putt, which he has every right to complain. Should he be given the putt? No. If it's that short a putt that he should have been given, then just make it and move on. But I love all that. So the fact that he felt obliged to apologize for that, I thought was interesting. I don't think he needed to. But it also shows you that he is actually a good guy, because he's getting crushed in social media too. Everyone's calling him all kinds of names. Tom Kim, please. So, Dom, I'm going to come to you one last time here today and ask you about. So, you asked the question of, does the President's Cup need to change? Could you give me the current voting that you're getting back on that?
It is still yes. Official question, does there need to be a change for the President's Cup to make it more competitive? 74% now. So it's gone down slightly, but basically, like you said earlier, 3 out of every 4 people are saying, what can we do here? We got to do something different.
Okay. And did you get any comments that are coming in from your discussion board that you choose to share with us?
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff coming in, and I can read it if you'd like. But I would say that the overall trend is there's some questioning going on with Mike Weir's captaincy in terms of some of the decisions he made, including specifically mentioned at least 3 times in the comments, his decision on Saturday to send out the exact same groups in the morning and afternoon and sit the exact same 4 guys in the morning and the afternoon. And I believe he addressed the media with regard to that and just said, well, they're all playing well, everyone's meshing, so this is what I decided to do. And people are saying that was stupid.
Notably, some of the people that he sat were the ones that were part of authoring the 5-0 comeback in the second session.
Correct.
Right?
So, but that is just an example. Again, there's a lot of people commenting, basically he wasn't a great pick. They should have picked someone else. Again, I think my only question, and it's a question for you and everybody else, is if everyone wants to see a change, what would that even look like? What could it even look? What do you do? What are you supposed to do?
All right, so that's Dom posing an additional question there as well. And then the other questions which I'd asked you guys when we first started the show today was, is the President's Cup the fertile ground for the reclamation of reputations as players serving as captain. So if you have a disappointing Ryder Cup, can you come back and have a dominating President's Cup, and now you're the greatest team captain in the history of Team USA? Right? I'll leave that for you guys to try to figure out, but that's kind of the flow and ebb of how this goes, which leads me to believe, so are we gonna see Zach Johnson next? Because as much as you hear the discussions and you heard Davis Love III saying, look, no, it's time for a new guard to take over and all the rest, but then you have Jim Furyk as your captain, from both the player and then from a call it management and captaincy perspective. Wasn't he a part of that exact group of players that for so long defined the American efforts, particularly when I talk about this, I'm talking about the Ryder Cup, but it also impacted the President's Cup as well. But in the President's Cup, they have success. I guess my question is, how much does this success in the President's Cup impact the Ryder Cup? Or is it a shrug of the shoulders where people go, look, the President's Cup isn't the Ryder Cup? So have your celebrations, be happy about it, but it's not perceived to be the same, and it doesn't carry the same weight. So, to this question, the question that Dom asked and that which people are reacting to a measure of 3-1, does the President's Cup need to change? It's an interesting subject to me because emphatically and with all my heart, I don't think they need to change a thing. I think that in many ways, the world that we live in today, which is so quick to make judgment and to make a judgment in such a way that there is a clarion cry, a demand for change, is far too much of a trigger response. Dom asked me the question, can I think of another time where one team had such a stretch of dominance going back over many, many years? And it was interesting because the thought that came to mind, because you have to give it relevance. I can't compare it to a team, the New York Yankees. So to give it a relative comparison, in the world of golf, how about the little thing called the Ryder Cup? The Ryder Cup started in 1927 at the Worcester Country Club. Team USA won that first match. And from that point on, it was touch and go. Who would win, respectively, from the GB and I side, Great Britain and Ireland, or from the United States. And that tight competition continued up until the Second World War. Europe was devastated from the Second World War, and in the wake of that, it took Europe a long, long time to recover. So my comparison to you is, where you have GB and I that won the Ryder Cup in 1957. From 1957 until 1985, they did not win. They had a tie in 1969, distinctive as it was. But they did not win. Now, they had their eyes open, and they brought continental Europe in. But what people forget when that happened is because they'll point to that and go, well, see, that was a change that led to Europe being dominant. In 1979, Europe lost 17-11. Seve was on that team. In 1981, the United States presented what to this day can be argued was the best Ryder Cup team ever. They won 18.5 to 9.5. In 1983, the heroics of Lanny Watkins at the end led to the United States holding on and winning by a point. What changed? From 1983, Seve was back, because people forget that. Seve was done with the Ryder Cup. That was his emotion. How did that happen? Why did that happen? Well, because Seve, and you tell me if this doesn't sound familiar with things happening today, Seve had the audacity to say that he wanted to determine where he played, when he played, how he played, whether he got appearance fees, etc. He wanted to control his own fate instead of being told by others what he should do, as though the others were somehow looking out for his best interest instead of their own, which we know was not the case. But Seve had become strong enough personality, celebrity, tour de force, that he could force changes in terms of how he was dealt with. And I've said this to you guys on this show many, many times. While Seve was a critical part of the puzzle, Tony Jacklin is the George Washington, ironically, to use that comparison, of the European side. He rebuilt them, but when they came to him in desperation and said, hey, would you think about becoming the captain? And he said, if I'm going to do it, you're going to do it my way. And we're not going to show up feeling like we're already sizable points down just by comparison of facing the mighty United States team, where Tony tells a story in particular where they used to show up back in the day, and the U.S. would show up and they'd have their cashmere sweaters on and their beautiful staff bags, and these guys are showing up with whatever bag they brought in from home in ragtag. Didn't have to be that way. It was that way because the people who were behind it, the decision makers, the same people that are constantly telling players what they should and should not do or what they can and cannot do, were profiting from the effort, and the players were expected to go along for the ride. You could see the evolution of players in terms of how they were perceived. You were a role player. Your job was to act on stage. So when you consider the fact that as this was happening, you had people clamoring, saying that the Ryder Cup, which is undoubtedly presented as the biggest event in golf. I know many of you that are listening to this or watching this have been to big events, have been to major championships. On average, a Ryder Cup is 5 times bigger than those. Think about that for a second. And in that regard, I'm talking just in infrastructure alone, but it's measured in all other capacities. Yet, during the course of that run of dominance of one side, you had people that pretty much said that it had lost its relevance. No one was really that interested. Why are we even continuing? So my point is, and we saw it with the Solheim Cup. Coming into the Solheim Cup, I heard national broadcasters say, well, if it continues on this path, they really need to think about making changes. Which is interesting, because if you look at it now in retrospect, with what the United States has done and what the European side has done in the Solheim Cup, you can go back as far as 2017, even 2015, and it's virtually balanced back and forth. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that in a time and place and in the here and now, people are quick to judge where something stands and where the future of that event should be, which stands in stark contrast to when you look at the biggest event in golf and go, well, if people conceded to the sentiment at the time of saying, why do we even have this thing? The United States dominates every time. And even after Europe came back, the sentiment was the same because they got crushed those first 2 times. Everyone's like, please, it did nothing. Why are we even doing this? What do we gain from it? So my sense has been, and I say this against full knowledge of the scale of the victory that the United States just authored, but I do believe that at this President's Cup, we saw change. I think from an American perspective on the Solheim Cup, the Solheim Cup team needed to find their spark, their inspiration. And I think of this last Solheim Cup, they found it in Megan Kane. I speculated as much in a documentary on the European side that I did prior to that Solheim Cup because I think she's that type of character, and she proved it to be the case. I think the American Ryder Cup effort over the last 25 years was severely negatively impacted by the fact that Payne Stewart died. To me, the American version of Seve Ballesteros. So when it comes to the international side and this President's Cup, who is their Seve? They want it to be Adam Scott. And out of respect, there was a lot of people that wanted to win it for Adam Scott, but Adam Scott isn't that type of personality, is he? And I'm not taking anything away from him. But I think Tom Kim can be. And I'm saying that with full knowledge that there's a lot of people right now that are very negative to Tom Kim. I'm not. He showed emotion. Sometimes emotion is delivered out of character. So my reaction to the President's Cup is, when I hear comments of saying, oh, it should be a mixed team event, it should be that, it should be this. If there's virtue in a mixed team event, because I hear it constantly, I heard it about the Solheim Cup, etc., then do it. Just make one. If there is that much clamoring, if there is that much desire to have one from the public, then somebody do it. But it doesn't mean you have to blow up what you've already got. So when I take a look at the Ryder Cup from a win in 1957 to that side not winning again into 1985, and now the Ryder Cup is the biggest event in our sport. So my comment is, my belief is that we saw this President's Cup, the seedlings of change, the fact that you have these young players coming in with this now burning desire to win. And I thought as much as Tom Kim showed at times behavior that was a reflection of his youth, I also think that he showed some great wisdom in his comments that said, look, now, dominance doesn't last forever. Sooner or later, the putts that didn't drop on day one, there were very close matches, yet it ended up 5-0. Team USA, you could say the same thing about day two. Session two. The other way. Sooner or later, they start to drop. And I think sooner or later, you're going to see a shift in the President's Cup. You're going to see it become more competitive because they're going to find their spark. They're going to find their unity. But the fact that it doesn't exist here and now, right before your eyes, something that you can hold and grasp in your hands, is that reason enough to clamor and say, nope, we got to change it. Everything's got to be changed? I'm not buying it. Not me. All right, folks, thank you very much for your company. Tomorrow, our national show will air from coast to coast on NBC Sports Golf Channel. Looking forward to that. I'm sure we're going to review some of these concepts. We'll be reaching out for some guests to give us some perspective on all that has taken place. And until that time, thank you very much for your company. Be well. Goodbye for now.
In Ireland, golf is more than just a game. Come and experience our world-famous links courses and our world-famous Parkland courses, all set alongside world-famous scenery. And visit our world-famous historic sites. And while you're here, enjoy our world-famous hospitality. Fill your heart with Ireland at ireland.com/golf.
Ben Hogan Golf Equipment is back. Established in 1953, we serve golfers who demand excellence of their equipment. Designed by the game's best engineers, forged in the world's best foundries, and built to order in the USA. Don't settle for off-the-rack disappointment. Elevate your game with custom clubs at direct-to-consumer pricing. Exclusively at benhogangolf.com. That's benhogangolf.com.
The best feeling iron I've ever hit. Introducing the new Gen 7 irons, the greatest leap forward in irons technology, in performance, in PXG history. Our new quantum core material explodes off the face. Are you kidding me? The Gen 7 irons deliver groundbreaking new levels of forgiveness, speed, distance, and feel. That's what I'm talking about right there. Look at that trajectory. Just phenomenal. Gen 7, it doesn't get any better.
PXG, nobody makes golf clubs the way we do, period.
Baseball? Nah. Football? Done it. I think I'm going to go after the PGA Tour.
Playing on the PGA Tour is not easy. But you know what is easy?
Hitting the 524 series from Tour Edge. Hitting linebackers and home runs used to be easy.
Out here, you're going to need all the easy you can get.
Introducing the 524 series from Tour Edge. The easiest clubs you'll ever hit. Even the best players in the world can use a little easy. I like the sound of that. Look out, PGA Tour. Pound for pound, nothing comes close.
What would your ultimate golf experience be like? Just you and a friend? Or would you round up some buddies for a foursome? Just one day? Or an entire week? There's a good chance your ultimate golf experience could be Michigan's magnificent 10. 10 incredible courses set among 3 remarkable resorts. See for yourself. Book your ultimate golf experience today.
Our journey began with a simple yet powerful vision to provide the world with the highest quality Virginia-type peanuts. The Hubbard Peanut Company, where quality and tradition meet to create an unforgettable experience. Visit hubspeanuts.com to explore our full range of products and place your order today.
PGA Tour Superstore pros aren't born. They're made. Every January, hundreds of associates talk to the top manufacturers, learn about the latest clubs, test the newest equipment, log thousands of hours of training, and together hit over 100,000 balls, all so they can get you the perfect fit.